pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Morning, everybody. I'll start with a motion to approve the agenda, but first I'd like to make a couple of changes to the agenda. I'd like to move item 5 of our regular business to the end of our agenda. Item 8 is coming off of the agenda. And that's it. So with that, I take a motion to approve.
Madam Chair, I'd offer a motion to approve the agenda as so requested, changing 5 to the end and 8 removed.
Thank you. Thank you. Sherry, we call the roll. Well, actually, is there any public comment about our agenda this morning? Okay. Sherry, we call the roll.
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. And then our motion to approve our consent agenda.
So moved, Madam Chair.
There's-
Second.
Thank you. Got a motion and a second. Any public comment on our consent agenda? All right. If not, Sherry, we call the roll.
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. Move on to regular business. We've got a JDC grant. Bill, do you want to say anything about that?
I believe Mr. Woolman will be here in a few minutes.
Okay, well, we'll just keep going then. We'll go to the next item, which is the first reading.
Now is the time for first reading for an ordinance of Lincoln County, South Dakota, rezoning a portion of proposed Tract 1A of Holbrook Addition of the property legally described as Tract 1, Holbrook Addition, North Half, Northwest Quarter, Section 27, Township 99 North, 51 West, Perry Township, from A1 Agriculture District to RR Rural Residential District, and amending the official zoning map of Lincoln County. Parcel ID number is 099-5127-A100. The Planning Commission recommends denial, 7-0.
Thank you, and this is just a first reading, so we're not going to take any public comment on that. We'll do that on our second reading. Sherry, do we have the second reading scheduled?
I would have to check into the agenda.
Okay, no problem. We'll move on to our next item on the agenda. I'm going to put items 3 and 7 together. Terry, do you want to come up? You've got some control signs ordered for an intersection.
Item number 3 is not my agenda item, but yes. So there was an email thread going around about a week and a half ago from a Barb Koopman, I believe, up by Spring Creek Golf Course. She's concerned that there's people running stop signs up there. This is a 4-way controlled intersection, County Road 106 and County Road 135 intersection up there. 4-way controlled stop. She had sent an email, I think, to Sheriff Swenson about their people running the stop sign. He CC'd me on the email. I said I would have to look into it, and that's, as I did, and again, that was about a week and a half ago, and I come to find out that we do not have rumble strips on County Road 135, and we didn't put them on there back when we paved it 3 years ago, I believe, just for the fact that we had to have noise complaints with them. And I think that was an issue you guys probably took up like 6, 7, 8 years ago too as well. So we didn't put them back in there. Upon further investigation of this, we will be installing rumble strips on 135 to make people more aware of the stop sign. And again, rumble strips are a safety device. And if people aren't aware, hopefully this will help. I do have just a single beacon flashing yellow or flashing reds. We have them ordered. Haven't heard on a time frame of delivery for those, but once those get in, we'll be installing them up there as well. So
All right, you don't need any board action on that then?
no.
Okay, and then you're up here, you've got item 7 today.
Yeah, that's going to be it's a haul road agreement for structure 42 113060. This is on a township gravel road, 274th Street, directly south of the city of Harrisburg. they have the city has a sewer project that is going to be going along this corridor on 274, and they're going to be hauling a lot of equipment, material across this structure. So we did a haul road, had IMA go out and do an inspection on this structure here about a month ago. We got the report back, sent it off to them, and we got a haul road agreement that we want to get signed with the contractor. The contractor's Site Works, and I believe they have already signed the agreement. So just looking for board action to approve and execute this haul road agreement.
All right, thank you for that. I've heard the request for the motion, for a request to approve and authorize, the signing of the Hall Road agreement. Can I get a motion on that?
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion from Commissioner Aaron's, a second from Commissioner Schmidt. Any public comment either on, item 3 or 7 on our agenda? All right, if not, Sherry, will you take a vote, roll call on item 7, please?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Terry. We'll circle back. Ad hoc committee, there's some discussions in planning and zoning meeting. I can't remember what date it was that we were in there, but, discussions about a committee to look at, a potential ordinance regarding the CO2, pipeline, ordinance, or pipeline, installation and the eminent domain actions and stuff that's been filed. It was decided that we form an ad hoc committee to look at those things, to see whether there was some ordinance, that we could look at putting in place. And discussions, about who was going to be on that was the planning and zoning chair, Wendy Hogan, Jerry Jongling, who is, also on planning, zoning, myself, and then, Commissioner Gibbon is, indicated he would like to be on that, along with, representative from our state's attorney's office. So I'm open to discussion on that, but, that's just, it was on the agenda, I think, last week or 2 weeks ago and got removed. And that's why it's back on here today. So I'd just like a vote to form that ad hoc committee, if I can get a motion on that.
They all consented to, sir.
Correct.
Okay. Right. Madam Chair, and you wanted to keep it at that size, right?
I do, yes.
Okay. All right, I will so move.
Thank you. Can I get a second, please?
Second for discussion.
Thank you. Got a motion and a second. Discussion.
Madam Chair, was there any reason given as to why the Planning and Zoning Committee couldn't just flush this out on their own?
I'm gonna let Mr. Golden respond to that question, if it's appropriate for a public meeting.
The rationale for it was it needed to be a smaller, tighter group because there was a lot of redrafting that needed to take place on the ordinance. And so that was what they did, was table it in order to have a little bit more nimble of a group that can get together, redraft it, and then take it back in front of the planning and zoning before it comes back to the commission.
Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Any other discussion amongst the commissioners? All right, if not, any public comment on this agenda item?
Anthony James Ventura, 47763 292nd Street, Hudson, South Dakota. Due to the inaction of the commission, I filed a new application this morning at 8:10 a.m. before you made your decision. I encourage you to send this back to planning and zoning, and let's see if they can hash this out together, because I think the inaction of the board up here in the timely fashion that's drug out so long is, let's see if the planning and zoning can do their jobs and then come back forward in front of the commission. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. Anybody else? All right, if not, Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
No.
Commissioner Poppins?
I have to abstain.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes. All right, next item on our agenda. We moved 5 to the end. We've got our treasurer.
Good morning. I would just like to add Heritage Bank NA as an official depository bank to our list.
All right. For the request, anybody have any questions or motion on this agenda item?
I'll offer a motion to approve the
Second.
request.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion? Any public input on this agenda item? If not, Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's,
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins.
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Commissioner Landine.
Yes. All right, so
Number 1.
State's Attorney Woolman, you're just in time.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We are here this morning, myself and Annie. Can you introduce yourself to the
Yeah.
commission?
Yeah, hi. My name's Annie Broken Leg. I work with UJS out of the State Court Administrator's Office. Yeah.
And today, we're here this morning asking for the commission's approval for us to pursue a grant application to JDIA, the Department of Corrections, for purposes of securing a position as a diversion coordinator. That position would answer to my office and would be in charge of handling juvenile diversions. What we've run into with our juvenile diversions is that we screen those at my office and then refer those to court services, and then court services handles those diversions. And what we found is court services is incredibly busy, and those diversions maybe could have a little bit more teeth in them, so to speak. So we feel that this would be a great position. Other counties have had this position for a number of years now. Approximately, how long has it been?
So these positions have been in Brown County, Davison County, Cottington County, Yankton County, Brookings, Hughes County. At the same time, Lincoln County is looking to apply, so is the Northern Hills area. So all over the state. So when we're looking at numbers every year, it just made sense that Lincoln County would also have this opportunity. So, yeah.
Yeah, we currently have a average daily population of about 2 kids in JDC, and with a detention stay of about 36 days. And of course, the goal there is to reduce those numbers to keep kids out of detention. And I think that we've been doing a good job with that, but this would be a position that could hopefully sort of hone in and make those diversions a little more meaningful for some of these juveniles. So again, asking for board support of that and for the authorization for the chair to sign, I believe. It's ultimately what we're asking for this morning. Anything beyond that?
Yeah, I don't think so. And then also, here too, to answer any questions you might have about the grant itself. I've been working closely with Mr. Woolman and Ryan in his office that prosecutes those juvenile cases. And we've also had a really good collaborative of the school involvement, law enforcement, and
I'll get out in front of that question.
Yeah.
Where's this position going to be housed? And in discussing with Harrisburg, Lenox, T, we believe that between those schools that we can find a home for this coordinator there. And I would anticipate meeting, or Ryan Weiss, my juvenile prosecutor, meeting with that coordinator frequently as well. But we believe that we've found a home as well. Good. So.
All right, anybody have any questions?
Just a couple, Madam Chair.
Yeah, go ahead.
What's the anticipated FTE for a position like this, and what's the funding provided for by the grant if awarded?
Not sure about that, but.
well, usually it's one FTE.
Oh, yeah.
And so, yeah, that's what I think the intent for you guys,
Yes.
right, is to apply for the one FTE. The Northern Hills is looking at a little bit larger because they're covering a large geographical area, but for you guys, one FTE. And the funding is $70,000, give or take. I mean, if you go a little above that, I don't think they're going to deny you. And that's usually been enough for that full-time position, benefits, mileage, that kind of thing. The grant is 3 years. So that's something that is important for you guys that position would be fully funded by this grant for 3 years. I will say that Aberdeen, Mitchell, and Watertown And Brookings this year, their grants have all ended. All 4 of those counties have picked up the position because they see the benefit. And they're also getting more money back from the Juvenile Justice Reinvestment Initiative for those diversions to help sustain that. So you'll start to see that more money coming back from the state as this position is implemented, so.
Yeah, like to, if we move forward and if we secure the grant, would like to be back in front of the commission to discuss what we've received back from the state by way of secured funding through the diversion program, and then just sort of an evaluation of how the position is performing as to whether or not we want to extend it past that 3-year period, so.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair.
Go ahead.
So, can you talk through, how that works? You say you receive diversion funding back from the state. What does that mean and how does it work?
For kids that we divert, and the exact formula, I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah,
But if you could.
Yeah, I can speak to that. So through the Juvenile Justice Reinvestment Initiative, that was a big Senate bill reform package that passed back in 2016. Every county is eligible to receive funds back from the state. Lincoln County currently receives funds. I don't have the numbers off of the top of my head, but if you have a court-approved diversion program, I want to say last year it was about $220 that comes back to the county per successful diversion. So last year you had, I forgot, I think the numbers are in here if you don't mind if I look. I think you had, oh yeah, here it is. You had,
We had about 5,000, checked for about 5,000 that came back, 5,000 or 6,000.
that sounds right, because you had about 54 successful diversions, but if you look at the amount of kids that were petitioned into court, a lot of those could probably be diverted, increasing that amount for you. So if you look at Aberdeen, Mitchell, Watertown, I'm just using those examples, they're getting back around 15 to 18,000 every year. So again, that's the intent, is to, build that, but most importantly, it's what's best for kids. Like Mr. Woolman mentioned, the only diversion program you have right now in Lincoln County is with our probation, with our court services, and that's not ideal because they need to focus their time and energy on those kids that really need that high-level supervision. So we see diversion more, and honestly, they just don't have the time to dedicate to those first-time offenders. So like Mr. Woolman mentioned, this would be much more involved, much more getting the family and that youth support and services in the community.
Yeah, our CSOs are stretched pretty thin between adult probationers and juvenile probationers and all their responsibilities there. So what we've run into is sometimes these diversions fall through the cracks because our court services officers just don't have the time to continue to keep after those individuals that we've referred to them. So again, hopeful that this diversion program would have more of an impact, more hands-on supervision through this coordinator.
All right, any other questions?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I have one more. Commissioner Gibbon wanted me to ask a question. I talked to him last night. His question is, what are the alternatives? What is the diversion path?
What is the diversion, like what services are available or what programs?
Well, when we talk, we use a lot of happy language here talking about let's divert them and let's provide them some type of alternative path. What does that look like?
And go ahead.
Yeah, so, so the diversion coordinator position can refer to any type of services that probation utilizes. So they'll work with your community mental health centers, so functional family therapy, moral recognition therapy, aggression replacement training. Those are 3. Cannabis youth. I mean, all of those programs that the state funds, the diversion coordinator will have access to those. But in addition to that, what we focus on in diversion, because we're talking about low-level offenders, is that accountability piece. They'll do a diversion contract, so maybe it's some community service. It's checking in with that coordinator probably on a weekly basis. Working with the schools, which I love the partnership that you have with the schools and potentially this position being housed within those buildings. And sometimes it's apology letters. So it can be a number of things. We don't want it to be like a one-size-fits-all approach. It's really looking at the youth and family and what they need.
Yeah, I mean, for example, if it's a marijuana charge or an alcohol charge, it's likely to be an education course, an assessment to see whether or not there's an issue with either of those substances. And then again, community service, things like that, whereas in the past, our court services hasn't been that hands-on to be able to manage some of those programs. So, yeah, that's a little bit of an overview.
Thank you.
Thank you. If there's not any other questions, I can, go ahead.
Just a when, if awarded, when would we find out? And a follow-up, when would this person be advertised, and hopefully when would the project start?
Yeah, our deadline for the application is June 3rd. Would anticipate hearing back within,
By the end of June.
By the end of
They'll
June.
meet- The council will meet at the end of June to approve the grant applications, and then funding goes into effect July 1st. So, as long as and I can share with you like a job description and all of that, so you can have that ready to post.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, you ready for a motion?
I am.
I would so moved to have signed that agreement, to have our state's attorney sign that agreement for that application. I think that's a worthwhile exercise, and it will enhance, and with the number of students that we have, I'm sure that position will be busy.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion amongst the commissioners? Any public input on this agenda item? All right, if not, Sherry, call the roll.
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. Motion carries. Thank you.
one final note, if I
Yeah.
may. My charge to you would be to think of members in our community that may be suited for this position. I think would be a position that would be well-served with somebody that's interested in working with youth and really has a passion for that. So if you've got somebody in mind, knowing how sometimes our positions aren't, advertising works well, but if you've got somebody in mind, we'd certainly like to hear from you. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I need to wait a little bit on item 5. So, Bill, did we need an executive session? We do. Can I get a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Sherry, will you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. Carter, are we on? Okay. Got a motion from Commissioner Poppins. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and second to come out of executive session. Any discussion? Sherry, call the roll.
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon? No?
Do we have Commissioner Gibbon?
You had him.
We did, I'm trying to get back.
Okay.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. And just give it a second here, we can get Commissioner Gibbon back on.
I did look at the agenda. The second reading and hearing is on May 23rd for that first reading we did
Oh,
today.
okay.
Do we want to do public comment?
Yeah, we can do opportunity for public comment. Does anybody have any public comment? Wonderful. Okay. Any commissioner reports?
Madam Chair, I have some interesting statistics that was provided by someone who's involved in the tourist industry, namely my wife. Visitors to Lincoln County spent $98 million in 2022, making up 5.2% of all spending in that region. This spending generated $9.5 million in state and local tax revenue, which funds essential services in our state like first responders, police, firefighters, as well as infrastructure. So, Lincoln County has a great deal of tourist industry here. And the other part is there were more visitor hours in this area than there was in the Black Hills. So, little known fact. There you are, Madam Chair.
Thank you for that. Any other commissioners have reports? All right. Do we have Commissioner Gibbon back?
Sorry.
Call, but I can't unmute him, so I don't, you can probably hear us, but I don't.
We need him to be able to speak.
Yeah. He can't unmute?
It's on a Zoom call, so it'd have to be him. I can just give him a call.
Yeah, would you please? Thank you. It's too bad Lincoln County didn't get some of that sales tax money, isn't it? Again, again, and again. We'll keep trying.
Yeah, Commissioner Gibbon.
Hi, Commissioner Gibbon. We're just circling back to item 5 on our agenda, which is the last thing on our agenda.
Okay.
It's board action to vote on the location for the proposed site for the Lincoln County Justice Center. So just since we've closed on 2 properties, I'd like an actual vote that is going to be the location for our new courthouse site. And so with that, if there's, discussion or comments otherwise, I would ask for a motion to approve the use of those 2 tracts of land for our Lincoln County Justice Center.
Madam Chair, I would so move on appointing our new Justice Center to be on the 2 tracts of land which are west of Canton. I don't know the names of those 2 properties, maybe Commissioner had, but I would ask that to be officially our new site.
All right, do we need to be any more specific, Sherry, as far as
I will have the legal descriptions in the minutes, and it was on the briefing form of the agenda.
Okay. Yeah, we closed on those properties on April 28th. So with that, is there a second?
I'll second it, Madam Chair.
And thank you, Commissioner Gibbon. Any discussion amongst the commissioners? Any public comment on this agenda item? All right, hearing none, seeing none. If there's no further discussion, Sherry, will you call the roll?
Any public comment? Did you ask that?
I did ask that.
Sorry, missed it. Commissioner Aaron's?
No.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes, motion carries. All right, with that, I don't think there's anything else that we need to address today. I'd consider a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second?
Got a motion and a second. Sherry, you call the roll?
Commissioner Aaron's?
Yes.
Commissioner Poppins?
Yes.
Commissioner Gibbon?
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt?
Yes.
Commissioner Landine?
Yes. Thanks for attending with us, Commissioner Gibbon.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right, thanks, everybody.